The January 6th House Select Committee has received only one exchange of text messages from the U.S. Secret Service. It comes as the panel was expecting to receive a month's worth of text messages from the agency head ahead of Thursday's January 6th hearing. The National Archives is now demanding answers from the Secret Service on how it lost the messages linked to the assault on the Capitol. The agency confirmed Tuesday that the messages cannot be retrieved and that they disappeared during a service update. For more on this, I am joined by Associated Press reporter Chris Megerian. Chris, I'm pausing because one text message, what do we know about that one text message the committee received?
So we're still waiting to learn more about what that exchange was. But what's obvious is, this is just a drop in the bucket of what the committee was hoping to receive. And this leaves, a huge fog of war surrounding what the Secret Service was up to, what the agents were talking about during a really critical moment around the January 6th attack.
And do we have any sense that, because doesn't the Secret Service say they've turned over what was relevant in this case? Isn't that their position?
Yeah, their position is that they've turned over tons and tons of documents and they've done nothing malicious about deleting messages. This is all part of a planned migration from one set of devices to another. But really raises questions about their record management. If this was a routine thing, why were there not steps, put into place to make sure that records were maintained? Even when you're not investigating a massive issue like the January 6th attack, you still need to have a chain of custody for records that are supposed to end up in the National Archives eventually anyways.
Exactly. All right, so the panel is set to hold its next hearing on Thursday, which will focus on what former President Trump was doing during the Capitol insurrection. So Matt Pottinger, a former national security official, is one of the witnesses testifying. What can we expect from Pottinger?
Sure. So Pottinger has a very interesting background, mostly focused on foreign policy, mostly involving China and Asia. However, he was there at the White House on January 6th, and, he sat at the intersection of a lot of national security issues, given his role in the National Security Council. So he's somebody who might have a window into what was being discussed on the response to the attack, what the military was talking about, National Guard deployments. These are all kinds of things that, could have crossed his desk, so to speak.
And former White House Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Matthews is also expected to testify. What do you think that will cover?
Sure. So since she was part of the press office, lots of debates over what should the president say, how should he say it. These are all things that the White House was debating in real time during the attack. And these are conversations that she might have been privy to and things that the committee is going to want to learn more about.
So now we're going to make a head-snapping switch, which is to talk about West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin. Give me your read on he's not going to support the president's efforts to combat climate change as a part of Build Back Better. What does the Joe Manchin story look like from your vantage point covering the White House?
Well, from the White House perspective, this is, a story that's occurred a few times before. This is a continuous roadblock they've run into, and you definitely can sense the frustration. The only thing I would say is, the president has sort of said, well, I wasn't the one negotiating with him this time. So I think that has created a bit of a buffer between the White House and Joe Manchin in this situation. But, the bottom line is that the president has increasingly said that he needs more Democratic senators in the Senate to get his agenda through, essentially saying that, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are not going to go along with a lot of what he wants to do.
Should we draw as a final question, Chris, any conclusions about the former longtime senator who is now president and the limits of the presidency now, given the fact that he's saying basically he's not negotiating with Manchin because he's been disappointed by him before? But there was a lot of talk at the beginning of the Biden administration that this former senator was going to have special talents and skills in the Senate. Can we conclude that the Senate of Joe Biden's past is not the Senate of today?
We can certainly conclude that. That is absolutely true. Although I would say that, it's not even really the Senate that he saw when he was vice president. I mean, we have a razor thin Democratic margin. There's no margin for error for any of his initiatives. And it's a time of rising inflation that has sort of made a lot of people gun shy about anything that has to do with spending money. So, there's been a really rough dose of reality for the president as far as getting his agenda through on Capitol Hill.
All right, Chris Megerian in Washington, thank you so much for being with us.
Sure, thank you.